So last month when it was my birthday, I was secretly hoping that the last Disney movie that I would review before turning 30 would be one of my favorites, but instead it was Make Mine Music, which I don't like. But at the very least, I get to review this movie on my unbirthday, so yay. Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for Alice in Wonderland, which came out in 1951 and is the second film in Disney's Silver Age. The movie follows a young girl named Alice, voiced by Catherine Beaumont. One day, she just finds herself bored out of her mind thanks to her sister, who's trying to catch her up on some teachings, and she just wants to escape into a world where nothing really makes sense and there'd be no rules at all. Then all of a sudden, she sees a rabbit with a waistcoat and a watch and is curious enough to follow it into this rabbit hole. And before she knows it, she falls down the hole and ends up in Wonderland. And as she's trying to find the white rabbit to see what he's up to, she's also trying to figure out a way to get back home. So last week I reviewed the first movie in Disney's Silver Age, Cinderella. It was a movie that I'd seen a handful of times as a kid, and it was a long time since I rewatched that movie. Rewatching it as an adult, I really didn't like it. I just thought it was bland, uninteresting, and not a very good start to the Silver Age of Disney animation. Alice in Wonderland is the opposite of that. I said this last week, but not only is Alice in Wonderland my favorite Disney movie in the Silver Age, but it's also my favorite Disney movie made when Walt was still alive. Out of all the animated movies that Walt Disney had some involvement with, Alice in Wonderland is my favorite of the bunch, which is surprising because when this movie came out, it was not considered good at all. It actually underperformed at the box office. I think it actually bombed. And the reviews for it ranged from bad, especially from Lewis Carroll purists, to mixed at best. But as time went on, it's gotten more respect, and it's often cited as one of the best adaptations of Alice in Wonderland. And I think one thing that's actually worth noting is that back in 1923, when Walt Disney was only 21 years old, he actually ran a series of cartoons called Laugh-O-Grams. And the very last one that was produced was a cartoon called Alice's Wonderland, which doesn't really have anything to do with the actual Lewis Carroll books. It's not even an adaptation. It's just loosely inspired by that. Ever since the beginning of February, I've actually been taking a history of animation class, and this short was actually one of the things that I watched, not knowing that Walt Disney himself actually made it. And I feel like this was the earliest attempt that Walt Disney made to try to adapt Alice in Wonderland. And it's an amusing short. It's a pretty cool blend of live action and animation, considering that this was made in 1923. And you can find it as a bonus feature on the Blu-ray for Alice in Wonderland. But back to the actual movie itself, there are a lot of reasons why I love this movie. One of the reasons, and probably the least important reason, is that I've actually read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland a couple times. If I haven't read them, then I've listened to them on audiobooks, but that was a long time ago. But I did have a familiarity with the source material. And while this movie isn't really a good adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, the original books are actually very difficult to translate into film. And I think out of all the adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, this version is probably the closest in terms of spirit. It's so weird and nonsensical that it manages to stay within the spirit of what that book originally was. But then when you separate this movie from the actual source material, it's just a really interesting, creative movie. And I think the fact that this movie makes no sense at all lends to its charm. I mean, the thread that holds this movie together is that Alice is trying to find the white rabbit, and then eventually when she gives up, she just wants to go home and be done with it. But all the scenarios that she runs into, all the zany and weird characters that she meets are just so entertaining, and in a way, you feel like you're in Alice's shoes. Catherine Beaumont, as I said earlier, voices Alice, and she does a fantastic job. And I think part of the reason why you like Alice so much is because she's the only character that's not psycho. She's so normal, she's so innocent, which kind of sounds bland, but there's enough personality with this character to where you like her. And she also reacts to these things in a very calm manner. Like, if I saw a rabbit with a waistcoat and a watch, or if I just witnessed all the other weird things in Wonderland, I think I would probably lose my mind. I mean, if you've seen this movie and you read the book, you know exactly how this story plays out. But even then, it's just so bizarre that you would really freak out if you were any other person. But Alice manages to keep her cool, and I think that's what I really like about this character. But at the same time, while she can keep her cool, and while she is just nice all around, she does have her limits. Sometimes she's just had enough of this nonsense and just wants to get home and just move on with her life. Now, as for all the other characters, they're just more defined by their weird mannerisms. You have the White Rabbit, who is just constantly late for what we don't actually know, but he's really entertaining and he just pops up in the most random spots. The Mad Hatter and the March Hare are just nuts and insane. Ed Wynn voices the Mad Hatter, and he is just so perfect in that role. You have the Cheshire Cat, voiced by Sterling Holloway, and he is another bizarre character because at times he can be helpful, he can be considerate, but other times he is just a straight up troll. So you never really know what his attitude is going to be whenever he pops up. And also he has that iconic look with his mouth where if you look at it, it looks like the crescent moon. And every time I see the crescent moon, I can't help but think of the Cheshire Cat. Another really memorable character in this movie, and memorable in the sense that you love to hate her, is the Queen of Hearts, because she is just so self-obsessed. She's a monster, she is cruel, yet she can be so funny at the same time. And it's just so fascinating to watch a character who is essentially a grown child have this much power. No, I'm not even going to make that comparison, but I know who we're all thinking of. I know who everyone is thinking of right now, and no, I'm not going to go down that route. The more I forget about this person, the more at peace I will be. And when it comes to the sequences involving the Queen of Hearts, it's where you feel sorry for Alice the most because she's so close to getting home. The Cheshire Cat led her to this person thinking that, hey, she could help me get back home. And then you realize, oh no, the Cheshire Cat just trolled me, and now I'm stuck with this egotistical monster who just, like, at the mere mention of an insult towards her, or if there's anything that this person doesn't like, my head could be gone at the snap of a finger. Then the animation style is not that different from what we saw in Cinderella, but it does have a more interesting look to it. It's definitely a more colorful movie when it wants to be, but it's also a pretty dark movie as well. Not in the sense that it's thematically dark, but in the sense that there's a lot of black backgrounds, there's a lot of muted colors, and it makes Wonderland feel just as bizarre as all the characters, where you never know where you're going to end up or what the situation and landscape calls for. So it's a fantastic movie all around. If I had one problem with it, and it's a minor problem, it's a minor complaint, it's that Catherine Beaumont cannot sing. Much like with all the other Disney movies, they have to make this a musical. And while a lot of the songs are good, and the score itself is definitely catchy from Oliver Wallace, whenever Alice herself has to sing a song, it really, I'm not gonna say it drags the movie down to the point where it ruins it, but it just doesn't help. And you're like, oh, guys, why did you put Catherine Beaumont through this? Her singing is just not up to par with most other people in this movie. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, it doesn't happen enough to where it distracts me from the movie. Because all in all, I think Alice in Wonderland is fantastic. I've said this before, it's my favorite Disney movie made when Walt was alive. I think it's very weird, zany, bizarre, it makes no logical sense at all, and yet I love it for that. It's not really a movie that's supposed to make sense. It's more of an experience, and Alice more or less acts as the audience avatar, where you're experiencing all these weird moments and reacting to them in the same way she would. except maybe a little less calm if you were to see these things in real life. So as for a rating, I would say get off your ass and go see it right now. This is truly one of the best Disney animated movies in their canon, and it landed at number 27 in my top 100 favorite movies of all time, which goes to show you how much I actually love this movie to where it's that high up on my list. And not only is this my favorite Disney movie made when Walt was alive, but it's my second favorite Disney animated movie overall. What's number one? Well, if you've been subscribed to me for long enough, you probably know the answer, but if not, then we'll get to that movie in a couple months, I'll say. Now, what are my thoughts on the reimagining by Tim Burton? Because I didn't actually review this movie. Well, because of my love for the animated movie, I was really looking forward to this, and I was ultimately let down. I do give Tim Burton credit for trying to make this movie different. It acts more like a sequel to the original books rather than trying to remake the original Disney movie, because you have an older Alice who's 19, played by Mia Wasikowska, to the best of her ability. I think at points in this movie she's good, and then other points she's not really given a whole lot to do. However, the biggest problem that this movie has, and it's going to sound really weird, but it just makes too much sense. The reason why the Disney movie works so well and why the books are so timeless is because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. To quote Korg from Thor Ragnarok, the only thing that makes sense about them is that nothing makes sense. If that makes any sense. I can't bring myself to hate this version of Alice in Wonderland because there are a few things in it that I like, but I certainly don't love it. The only thing that's actually keeping me from hating that version is Alice Through the Looking Glass. I thought that that sequel was awful. It was atrocious. And once again, it tried to make sense, and in doing so, doesn't make sense. Interesting how the original Disney movie and the books make the most sense because they don't make sense. And when these new live-action movies try to make sense, they don't make any sense. Boy, this is a big ball of confusion right here. So bottom line, the live-action movies suck. The animated movie is fantastic. And there you go, that's my review for Alice in Wonderland, my favorite Disney movie within the Silver Age. And next week we're going to talk about my second favorite Disney movie in the Silver Age, Peter Pan. And much like with Alice in Wonderland, I am familiar with the original source material as well. So I can't wait to talk about that movie in the same way I talked about this. But now I want to know what you guys think about Alice in Wonderland. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Alice in Wonderland. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on social media, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go check out my Twitch channel and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.